Hi and welcome to this week's episode of Split the Eat podcast. It is the first one back in 2025. I'm so happy to be here with Sean Lind. Sean, you started off in criminology, then you went into the circus, and then strong manning and lifting weights and coaching and being a trainer.
Yes.
Let's begin with why did you get into criminology and why did you drop out fairly quickly then?
So originally I went to school for computer science.
Oh, no way.
So I thought I was going to be a nerd like that. I still am a nerd, but I couldn't deal with the calculus. So after 3 years of calculus, advanced algebra, linear algebra, advanced
Holy
calculus,
fuck,
I was
yeah.
like, I'm okay at math, but I'm not that good at math. So I didn't think I'd be good. And I've always enjoyed law, and I've always liked structure and order. And growing up, watched things like Rumple the Bailey, if you've ever heard that before. It's a very old TV show, and I watched Law and Order, and I was fascinated by the law. So I wanted to become a lawyer. So the path for that was...
Just to stop you, aren't they doing like a Law and Order in Toronto? It's like a new series right now.
Oh, I have no idea.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Go on anyway.
That'd be good. So yeah, did criminology, got my criminology degree, and then was about to get ready for law school, and we have to get ready to study for the LSAT, then you have to do a bunch of other stuff to get qualifications and, you know, be a good member of society and community and get someone to recommend you to go to law school. It's a huge process. And in the middle of that, I had pretty much a year off school, and I started doing gymnastics at that time, and while I was at gymnastics club, I saw these people doing circus. And I was like, what's that? And they're like, well, this is something called hand-to-hand, which is what I do now. I'm like, this looks really fun. And I'm like, they're like, do you want to come join us one day? So I'm like, sure. So they brought me down, and they started teaching me. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. So I really got into it.
Was this an actual school?
No, these are just...
Or just random circus guys?
Random people practicing circus at a gymnastics club. And it was one of the coaches at the gymnastics club and that I was training at. So I started training with him, and we ended up just having fun. We started playing around with some stuff. We would watch videos online because there wasn't any schools in the area for circus.
Where did you grow up, actually?
I grew up all over in Alberta, in northern BC, but this was in Victoria at the time.
No way.
Because my goal was, did my criminology degree in Victoria, then I was going to go to UVic Law School because that's one of the best law schools in Canada.
Fuck, okay.
That in Toronto. So the goal was Victoria because Victoria is way nicer to live in than Toronto is. And so I was there, and we were playing around a little bit, and then I started... We just like watched Cirque du Soleil videos and watched Cirque du Soleil shows. We're like, okay, let's try and do what they're doing. And we had no idea what to do. We just kind of figured out. He was an ex-gymnast, like national level gymnast, so he could pick up things like that. And I was just a strong guy that was able to pick him up and hold him up in handstand. And I was doing this for about
Were you naturally like that?
I was an athlete my entire life. So I was always naturally strong. I'm not as strong as I am now after training, but even in judo, like I was a competitive level athlete, so our training was like we would train 20 hours a week. Yeah. So you do get just athletically strong from that. And I started hitting the gym when I was like 17, 18 years old, but wasn't guided. I just looked at bodybuilding magazines and like try and recreate what they're trying to do. And they're like, oh, do this workout. I'm like, okay, I'll do this workout. Do this workout. Just kept on lifting. So I had just basic strength and probably like the Russian that's in me.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the circus school, saw those guys, and then 6 months later, at that same gym, there was a girl that came in, and she's like, hey, I need to get physically stronger because I'm applying to circus school. I'm like, what the hell is circus? There's a circus school.
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, there's a circus school. You should try it. You should like apply for it. I was like, well, why not? So I gave a call to the school and said, hey, I've heard you guys are doing auditions soon. Can I apply? And his English was horrible, and my French was non-existent at the time. So he spoke to me in broken English, and he said, sure, just send me a video. I'll send you some of all the requirements that we do. So they do an audition test where you have to do physical testing, dancing, and then like skills, where whatever skills that you have or technique that you have of the discipline that you do. So. And
your discipline was?
Hand-to-hand.
Hand-to-hand, so that's lifting.
Lifting humans. Literally, I take a human, I throw them in the air, they flip, and then I catch them again.
No way. Yeah. Did you ever think of doing cheerleading as well, no? It's kind of similar, isn't it?
Similar, but no.
But obviously it's way more...
It's way more technical.
Way more technical, yeah.
I never even considered cheerleading even as a sport. I never, to
You're
me...
like, fuck that, man.
Fuck that shit.
Well, I'll pause you there now, and I'm gasping. I'm sure you're thirsty
I'm
to
always thirsty for a
split the
Guinness.
yeah. So we're splitting the G of a Guinness. If anyone is watching and they don't know, it's basically we have one drink, one time to up in the air and guess where the head of the Guinness is going to go through the logo. You ready?
I'm always ready.
Let's go, man.
Cheers.
Are you seem like a competitive person.
A little bit.
Yeah, okay, we'll see if you get it. I'm bang on.
Oh, you nailed it.
Yeah. I swear I've done it before. Like. All right. So yeah, we're back to you're applying for
Yeah, applying for circus school, and then
the only time I've heard of circus school is watching Jackass and Steve-O going, oh, I applied to fucking circus school, and then he pulls out a tooth. Like, you meet like the most randomest characters in there.
you meet some amazing characters in there. So when I got accepted to the circus school, some of the people that I met, some were people that were engineers that left engineering to do circus, and I think they do engineering on the side. I have met some of my best friends, even to this date, from circus. You meet all types of creative individuals for the most part. You meet
100%.
Insanely talented acrobats and very artistic individuals.
Mm.
And it's wild. Like to see what people can do with their bodies.
The contortionists,
Everything.
they're made of rubber, like, yeah.
They have no bones.
Yeah,
They have
yeah,
no
yeah.
bones. It's creepy in a way.
Oh, it is, yeah, 100%.
Like when you can take your head and touch the back of your ass, and that's normal for you. That's weird.
100%. Fuck, man. And so when you went into you did you have to make like a video of this is what I was doing, or like a kind of like a set, like what's the kind of like a video of you throwing people up in the air and this is what I was doing and whatnot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had to do a lot of things. They asked for like a physical assessment, so they said like show us a video of how many push-ups you can do, how many pull-ups you can do, like how many sit-ups, and yada yada yada. And then they said show us like what you can do in the discipline that you want to go into. So I was training a little bit, so I showed them like whatever technique that I had by lifting humans up and while they did handstands. And then they asked for a dance
Were you taking dance lessons?
No, it was horrible. When I got to the school, everyone kind of made fun because some people saw my dance. It was just like me trying to dance to hip hop. And I have rhythm, I just didn't have the moves. So they can see that I can understand a beat, but when it came to the actual dancing styles, it wasn't that great.
Were you able to do like breakdancing, or was there?
I never did breakdancing, but in school we had to take contemporary and then classical ballet.
Oh, no way.
So they taught us how to dance because like our school, it was like a school structure, Monday to Friday, and we had like 2 hours of conditioning, 2 hours of dance, an hour of flexibility, like 2 hours of our technique training for whatever discipline we do. It was like Monday to Friday, like that.
In my mind, I was expecting to have like an apprenticeship of joining the circus where you're literally like run off after a train and then you jump on with a load of like fucking animals or something. Do you know what I mean? This idealistic like Dumbos fucking flying around, you know what I mean? And learn as you go. So you actually go to school for it, like. Oh wow, that's cool, man. Yeah, like how do you build up trust after going through school? I might be jumping ahead a little bit. But when you are the base and you are holding up to maybe two human beings, like the trust must be built up by excessive repetition. Yeah. And how did that come about? Was that like hard to do, or do you ever like go in there one day and you're like mad with someone? You're like, oh, you're pissing me off, and you're like, I'm definitely dropping you today. You know?
Funny you say that. Not me personally.
Yeah.
I've never dropped a flyer. So
Let's go, coach.
So with my flyers, I've never done that. Even my flyer that I have today, I have.
They're called flyers. All the people. Yeah.
So we're called bases or porters.
Okay.
And they're called flyers.
Right.
And you, as you train, as you develop skills, like we develop them in lines. So we have someone on the side pulling lines in case they fall, they catch them.
Seen that, yeah.
And you just develop trust and repetition over time. And the more you trust your flyer, and like for example, like I have to trust them to do the right thing, and they have to trust me to do the right thing. And sometimes something can go wrong, and even if you've done something 1,000 times, that 1,001 times something can go horribly wrong.
Of course.
And you can make a mistake. So it's over time that you develop that trust with them. But to what you said before is, I have known some bases that were a couple. So guy and girl.
way.
And then of course if they're ever fighting and and it's bad to say, but when
It's
she
bad
was,
juju
she
going
was
on
getting
here.
mad at him, he was getting mad at her, and she was being very, very salty. And just a couple times he's like, I'm not catching these. So like he catches her, like, but not poorly, just like catches and kind of like
Dropped her
guides
on
to
her
the
arse,
ground,
like,
kinda,
yeah.
like sit down kind of stuff. We're done for the day.
Oh, fuck.
I have seen that toxicity.
That's not good.
It's not good. They're no longer together. They're no longer working together, which is fantastic.
She
But-
got someone else catching her.
Yeah, he got someone else, and it's way better. They're both happier. They're both healthier.
Oh, fuck.
And that's the unfortunate thing is like the golden rule, which no one ever follows, is you never date your flyer. So
Right.
because
It's business.
Those things can happen. It's business.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot because you're training with someone. It's intimate. Like literally, they put their lives in your hands, and you have to sell a story. So you create a scenario where whatever story you make, you can be like this romantic relationship, this couple relationship, like a funny act. It depends on the act that
Of
you
course,
create.
yeah.
So when you create certain stories,
Is sorry for interrupting again, but is it is there a director, or because you were saying that there's loads of creative people, are you all coming up with it together, or like this is my ability and this is what I'm good at? Do you know what I mean?
It depends on what you're doing. So
Yeah.
if you're doing if you're creating an act together,
Yeah.
then you create an act that you can sell.
Okay.
It's just making a show for you. So right now, that's what I do. My partner and I, we've created an act. We have a package, and then people buy it
Wow.
for special events. So we do corporate events right now. So
And how did you meet your partner?
I met her through the circus space over in Langley called Circus Lab.
Okay.
And at the time, she was working with my friend, but he had a bicep injury. So he literally had a torn bicep where they had to do a huge operation. He's got a fantastic scar.
Oh,
So
sweet.
he wasn't able to train as much. And I was looking for a flyer. And she was just had a baby. She's had 2 kids now, but she just had a baby, and she was getting back into it.
Her name is, just give her a shout out.
Her name is Carmen.
Let's go, Carmen.
And so she was looking for basically someone to train with. My friend Jason, who owns a circus lab,
Yeah.
he wasn't able to train as much, or anytime he started doing hand-to-hand, his bicep would just flare up, and it's just like, I can't train. He wanted to, just couldn't do it. He now does another thing. Like he even though he owns the business, he does Russian bar, which is where they take a stick between shoulders. Like you have another base on the other side. It's a 4-inch platform that bends,
Yeah.
kind of like a trampoline.
Yeah.
And the flyer stands in the middle, and they do flips in the middle.
Right, okay.
And then the flyer moves. They have to go over and catch them.
Catch them?
Yeah, it's like a moving trampoline.
Yeah,
And that has
yeah,
a
yeah.
whole new level of trust because like I can throw some in the air like 10, 15 feet. They're throwing some in the air about 20 feet.
Oh, no.
And so
Why?
if they miss, they're dead. It's game over at that point. Or
It's
they're
like slackline on steroids, basically.
It is. It's slackline on steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's wild. And
It's a sight to see, obviously. People, yeah.
we get paid to do tricks for money.
Have you ever seen that documentary, Flight of the Frenchies?
No.
Oh, man, you watch that now when you go home.
Flight of the Frenchies?
Or whenever you get a chance.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
watch that anyway. It's basically these 2 French slackliners. I think they go up to the French Alps, and they do unassisted or unharnessed slackline from one mountain to the other.
That's crazy.
And there's like clouds underneath them and everything. And they were saying with their balance, you have to kind of like judge a point and stick to it, but that's gone because you're in the clouds. It's kind of like that movie, do you know, with the guy who walks across the tightrope in the Twin Towers.
Yeah, the Twin Towers, yeah.
It's kind of like that, but on mountains. Yeah, it's a fantastic documentary. Really, really cool.
Okay, don't spoil it for me, but yeah, I'll watch it. But oh my God, that's scary. Because you fall, that's it.
Yeah, I know, man, 100%. So when you're getting into you get accepted into you and your partner, you sell this story to a circus, and then you get accepted into a circus. Is that how it happens?
Yes and no. So there's multiple circus companies around. So right now we're local. We're not doing any touring shows.
You're still in the circus right now, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I say semi-retired because I'm just doing corporate events. I'm not
Yeah.
doing any tours right now. So to answer your question, you asked.
I know.
Like who directs it? Well, when you create an act, it's you and your partner creating an act, or you can hire a choreographer to help you build an act, or you can hire a director to help you build a story for your act. When you do a show for a company, so a company hires you. 2 years ago, a company hired me in Quebec, and when you get hired by a company, then you come in without the act. You're not using your act. You're going to use an act that they create, and it's called the creation process. So usually the creation process can take anywhere between 1 to 3 months for a smaller company, and for like companies like Cirque du Soleil, their creation process is like a year.
That makes sense, yeah.
And that's where you just you have an idea. You're like, okay, I'm going to do something with like clouds, or I'm going to do something with rainfall, and then they have the artist do movement, and the director sees certain movements out of the artist, like, oh, I like that movement, or I like this accent, the way your body's moving for this thing, so I'm going to put that in, and that I don't like, and then you build upon it, So the creative process is like, how weird or how bizarre, or how does your brain think, and then what movements do you want to try and do, and then they take that and they build an act out of that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Did you always have one partner, or do you have like multiple partners or a team or anything like that?
I've had 2 flyers. One flyer, like my flyer that I have now, we had to take a break because in 2020 she had her second child.
Yeah.
So her and her husband were like, we want to have our second child. And I was like, amazing, go for it. I was very supportive for it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I still want to work. Are you okay if I work with another flyer? And she's like, absolutely. And it so happened to be that one of my friends from circus school moved out to Squamish.
Cool.
She just finished off tour. She was on tour with...
I could imagine Squamish is a lovely place for a circus people to live.
Oh, 100%. Squamish is beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And I saw on Instagram that she was doing handstands in Squamish. I'm like, what are you doing? I messaged her. I'm like, what are you doing in Squamish? She's like, I just moved here. She just, at the time, met a guy. They were dating. I said, well, I'm looking for a flyer. Do you want to train together, see if we can work together? So we started doing that. And it worked out beautifully because we got lots of contracts, and we even got like things on Canada's Got Talent.
Yes.
And then we did a huge show, and then we did a bunch of big shows. Then we did a big tour in Quebec the year before. But now she's back on tour with another company. I wanted to stay in town because my wife and I, we wanted to settle down. We wanted to build stability. Yeah. And then the plan is like, we want to have kids one day. So I'm like, I can't really be on tour and have, I don't want that life when I'm on tour and having a kid. I want to be here when I have a kid.
100%.
Or if and so we have it. So my flyer went on tour with another company, and she's still on tour this day, and she's with this bass who's amazing bass. Like, I see his skills, I'm like, damn, I'm jealous of this guy. He's really good. So they're having the time of their lives, and that's fantastic for them. And then I'm here with my first flyer. And we're starting to get back into training again, so it's nice.
That's fucking sick, dude. How stressful is it being a bass? It must be like...
It can be stressful. It can be very stressful.
Do you like before a show, you must get so nervous, you know, like, how do you deal with that?
I used to get nervous, but now because I've done so many, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
So as I said before, I've done...
Because out of the one, like, and I don't want to, everyone's job is obviously like super extreme, but like you're putting someone else's life and they're putting their life in your hands, you know what I mean?
No, and that's one thing I never forget. It's like I always realize, I'm like, this is someone's life in my hands. This is like, in this case, my flyer is like, she's a mother, she's a wife, she has a job, she has family.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's my responsibility to protect her at all costs, and I never forget that. But as for the stress, it gets easier, and that's because like I did years of martial arts, and I know how to calm myself down before a match. Like if you're amped up, you can't think, you can't focus. So I like to be in the headspace. Like I like to be a little bit nervous, but not too much.
Nerves is good.
So nerves are good. So it's like, okay, let's go. Just know that something can go wrong.
Yeah.
And then if it does go wrong, react to it, but be calm on stage.
Yes.
In that sense.
Yeah.
So when I first started performing, I used to be really nervous and then shaky, and that affected my performance, and it affected the persona that I was trying to engage.
That's it. Yeah, you're acting as well as doing this as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we're acting. We're in character. And then everything, we have to do everything for the audience because they can read that on stage. Any body language, if I'm like, oh shit, okay, like unless
but your facial expressions as well, like
exactly.
you're like, oh my god, you're heavy today. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
Exactly. Oh shit. Unless that's the character that we're trying to do, where it's like we're making a fun story. Like,
so when you go on tour, like, you're like very strict with yourself? Like, there's no drinking after the show, or
oh god, no.
Yeah, I don't know why we're drinking now, like
Yeah,
obviously, but like you're eating healthy, like it's very strict regiment, or would you be lax a days?
It honestly, when it comes down to the circus, it depends on the individual. Some individuals are just like eat healthy, get 9 hours of sleep each night, treat your body like a temple.
Yeah.
And I've seen other artists that, after they do a show, they'll have 4 or 5 beers, they'll get a couple hours of sleep, they'll eat like crap. For me, I've always liked to eat somewhat healthy. Like I'll still have a beer, but I'll never drink before a show.
Yeah.
And then I like to drink. Sometimes I'll have a drink maybe after the show. It's like as a wind down, or at the end of the week, have a couple drinks, enjoy myself, and then move.
There has to be an outlet, right?
Yeah. There's always an outlet.
Yeah.
Like when I went on tour, when I was in Quebec, we worked and we got free beer from the brewery that was just down the street because they had a deal. And some of the artists there, they were every night, after every show, they were putting down 3 or 4 beers, and then Friday they would put down 20 beers.
No way. But like, are they the gymnast ones, or are they?
They're the full-on acrobats. Like
Really?
these are
Yeah.
some of these acrobats have been in with Cirque du Soleil for like 20 years.
Oh wow.
And then they're on this show, and they just live. They just live. Let's put it
That's
this way.
their lifestyle. How did you get into judo?
When I
Oh yeah, go on.
yeah, I was gonna say when I was a kid, we had friends in the family
Yeah.
that when I was like 9 years old, they were like, friends of our family said their kid was going to judo, so my dad threw me in the judo and saw if I liked it, and I loved it. It was fantastic.
No way.
Yeah.
And how far level are you? Or there is belts, is there?
Yeah, there's belts.
I'm
So
more like in the mind frame of jiu-jitsu.
Yep. So
Yeah.
no, there's a belt. There's a grading system. My systems of it. I have a funny story about it. So I'm only a brown belt.
Okay.
So in judo, you do your grading, and it's not in jiu-jitsu. From my understanding, it's that once you put in a certain amount of hours of training, you get graded to the next level until you get to a certain belt, and then you have to do a full-on grading after that. For judo, they have to do a grading where they test your knowledge on each level of each belt. So a yellow belt has to know, these couple of throws and hold downs and movements, and as you progress, you have to know more and more of the sport. I did my brown belt, and then after you get brown belt, you accumulate points, and then points are accumulated by years of training, tournaments that you win, and I think people that you beat in tournaments, and whatever tournaments that you do.
Oh, that's a way better kind of scale of judging, really, isn't it? Like,
yeah, so they have that, and then once
you've got a bit of homework to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once you get enough points, then you have the ability. Once you have points, then you have to do like your training for coaching, and then you can do your grading. And then your grading involves throws and also something called kata. And I was so busy competing when I was younger that I didn't care to take time off to do my grading. So I stayed a brown belt, but I was competing and I went to nationals several times, and there was like dozens of tournaments that I placed first, second, or third. So when I contact Judo Canada, I'm like, how many points do I have? Like, I have enough points for my second belt, my second degree, which is first Dan is for your first black belt, second Dan is your second black belt. I have enough points to get my second Dan. I've just never done the grading for it, where I have to go in front of senseis that are higher level, and they judge you based on your form, and I've just never taken the time to do that. So I'm only technically a brown belt.
But do you think you feel like you're a black belt?
I should be a black belt. Like even my old sensei, who I saw a couple years ago, she's like, "Why don't you the fuck you have a black belt?"
So how long are you actually doing it then?
I did it for 12 years competitively.
Holy shit!
And then that was when I was in 21, and then I stopped because I was going to school.
Yeah.
And then after that, a couple years later, I joined the circus, so I've taken time off.
You go on anyway. Go, yeah.
And then I recently kind of got back. I got back to it in about a year and a half ago. I want to do judo again. I want to actually do my grading, so I wanted to get back into judo. And when I went to the club, I started training there. And like, oh, you should compete again. And I was hesitant because I did over a decade of competing. I know what that's like. I know what that takes. I'm like, okay, maybe sure, I'll do it for fun. And I did a tournament.
It's never fun though.
It's fun, but it's not fun. And this year was fun.
Yeah. You have to put a mind. And I'm not speaking from experience. I did one jiu-jitsu competition, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it's a great mindset to just focus in and lock in.
Yep.
But everything else just disappears behind you,
Well, you have
which
to.
is great, which is like phenomenal for like just to like for your mind or your mental health, I think it's epic.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything else just falls around, and you just have one tunnel vision.
Yeah, you put blinders
Yeah.
on. You like when you're competing, you put blinders on. You don't
Yeah.
hear anything else, and you just
Yeah,
focus on
yeah,
what
yeah.
you have to do, which is good and bad at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But I did a competition last year, and it was good because I decided to compete in the Masters division. Masters being like, people who are 30 years older plus, instead of like the 20-year-olds that are fighting to like, get ready for the Olympics or like get selected.
Oh shit.
It's a different world. Like they're hungry, they're vicious, and they don't care about anything. I'm fighting in the Masters. We're a little bit older, and we're competing, but we're not trying to rip the other person's head off. We're going to be a little bit nicer, and did the tournament. I ended up winning after being away for almost 17 years.
No way.
So I did that, but I also tore my hamstring as I won. So
Oh,
my second
shit.
match, I tore my hamstring fighting a guy, and I had a third match to fight after that. So I'm fighting him with a torn hamstring, and I didn't realize how bad it was. Like my leg was a bit limp as I'm walking around, so I have to change my fighting style a little bit. Have to be a little bit cautious, and then I get 1 or 2 chances. That's it. So I had to end it within a few minutes, and I did. Then I walked off, and the next day I can even show you the picture later. But like the back of my leg was like purple because of all the bleeding that happened, and I couldn't walk properly for like at least 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh man.
So it was worth it. I won, but at the same time, I really hurt myself.
Yeah, the yin and yang of everything. That's a great question to ask. Is how did you're back to the circus?
Yep.
You're literally running the circus, and you're going from town to town, or you're whatever you're doing it every week,
Yep.
day by day. What would happen if you got an injury during that? Would you still have to commit, or depending on how would you patch it up or anything like that?
It depends on the contract. So sometimes you sign a contract, and then so most shows are integrated where you have to have a backup act, or there's
right.
ways to back up an artist that has an injury, because injuries happen a lot in circus.
Yeah.
Because like you're performing 5 to 6 nights a week,
Exactly,
and sometimes 1 to 2 times a day. Like your body takes a toll. And what they do is you can either cycle out the routine. So if someone gets injured, someone does a replacement act to put that spot on the show. So if it's a 60-minute show, someone else takes that time spot or replaces them. And then if you are able to move, you can still be a supportive character if it's a show that has characters in it, or you're on the injury list, but you're still rehabbing until you can go back perform.
Oh, you like your friend with he's doing the balancing beam.
Yeah.
Instead of he's
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like someone else comes in, and then while you're waiting, and then they pay you like an injury fee. So you get paid to be on site, but you don't get paid for the show.
Right. Okay. Cool. Oh wow. How did it come about to enter into Canadian's Got Talent?
I wanted to do it. I've always seen America's Got Talent, and I know.
How was your experience with it as well?
It was interesting. It was. I remember it being a long day, because this is kind of when the world shut down and COVID was going on.
Yeah.
So like they're like, send us a video submission, and we sent a video submission like, hey, we like you. We want to have you on the show. We think you have talent. So we had to do multiple video interviews, and then they flew us out there.
Is that the norm?
I don't think that was the norm because of
COVID.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then we had to do like testing, like on site, like, do you have COVID? So they gave us the rapid test. If you do, you're not allowed to be on the show, so you have to go home. But if we pass, then we're able to do it. And then they were just doing interviews, and
That must have added to the nerves too.
it was a little bit stressful.
Yeah.
And for us, it was hard because we need to warm up in the area. And so if we go on stage, we have to do what's called a lighting check. So if I'm throwing my partner up in the air and there's a light blinding me in the eyes and I miss her, then that's, or him or her, whoever, then that's a danger. So we need to warm up in the area, but we weren't allowed to do that. So we had a chance to warm up downstairs. Like we were there at 7 o'clock in the morning, or even I think 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was just a long grilling experience where they did the classic like show warm up, or like the show introduction, and then they did the actual introduction. So we all checked in, and then they had, okay, everyone come check in again. But now we have the cameras on, so act really excited. And then we had to do the acting for the videos, and it's like, okay, we're gonna take some of you outside, and we're gonna film you as you walk in, and you have to ask so excited for us, and so we had to pretend to be excited. Oh my God, we're on Canada's Got Talent. Oh, look at this place, it's amazing. Wow,
Oh my
are you
God.
excited? Yeah, let's go. And that it didn't seem genuine to me. I hated every second of it. But
You know, there's a documentary about.
yeah,
It's called Boy Bands. I actually think it's an Irish documentary.
yeah,
So back in the day where it's Simon Cowell and Louis Walsh. Louis Walsh is an Irish manager. He was part of it, and it's all about the insides of boy bands.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it, but I've heard about how cruel it is, and it's really it's entertainment show first, and then everyone else is after.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this was. It was put on a face for the fans because we're going to film you, and then we don't care about you after that or whatever. So it was just a long day, and then we got to the second round, but we didn't get to the third round. So we got like a 2-second spot on TV, but we didn't get to the third round, which is fine. I wanted to do it because like I wanted to get some screen time.
Yeah.
I wanted to get some time, like because I know we're not going to win because it's always someone who has way more multiple talents than us, who's way more versatile, and usually it's like a singer that's like 5 years old that can sing the opera, which is way more impressive than I think than what I can do. But I just wanted like to get some exposure, and then just like also Canada's funny doing Canada's Got Talent. I'm like I want to kind of be a part of that because I watch America's Got Talent and I see those shows.
Did you get to meet the judges or anything like that?
Not personally, just always on stage, and we had mixed reviews for our judges. So like we had 4 judges. 2 of them were like, "Wow, I liked it," because the routine that we put on.
And your routine is you and your partner dancing, right?
Yeah, we're partnering throwing dancing.
Yeah.
One of them was like, I really like it. Another one was like, I don't know. It's like I want to see you guys to be more stronger. And the funny part was, one of the other judges was like, he's literally throwing someone in the air. You have to be strong to do that. Don't you
what
get
the
that?
fuck?
And he was just like, well.
Who was that? Howie?
No, it was the rapper guy.
Oh right, okay.
I forget his name.
I don't know. Yeah.
But he was like, oh, I thought you'd be stronger. I'm like.
You do it. You fucking do it.
Yo, that's what she said. Because I think it was Trish or something like that, and I think she's a wrestler, if my memory recalls. I forget. I remember Howie was there, and there's a few other judges. But she was like, "Do you understand? They have to throw her. Throwing is different than pressing someone. Like pushing someone is easy, but throwing someone in the air is way harder." So she called him out, which was funny. And then there was the other 2 judges. One was on the fence about it, and then Howie was the final decision, and he was like. I liked you guys, but I don't think you had enough pizzazz. You know, like we didn't have the flair. I guess because we didn't.
Fuck you, Howie.
We didn't rip our shirts off and show the whole sexy scene because we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to sell sex as we do a routine. We wanted to just do our skills.
Okay.
Sure, we can look sexy and do it, but we didn't want to do that avenue.
Right.
But we got sent home. We're like, that's okay. We had our fun. We got a.
It was a day out.
Yeah, we saw the. Where were we in the Niagara Falls? We were We were just in that area, so we got to see him at night, had a fun trip, and got some exposure. And now I can say I was on Canada's Got Talent. It was fun.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
But there was another pair that did what we did, and they were a young couple. Like this kid was 18 years old, and she was I think 15 years old. But they were so talented. Like there's a sport called acro sport. So what we do in circus, there's actually a gymnastics sport called partner acrobatics. But in gymnastics.
Okay.
And these 2 kids were the Canadian national champions, and they've been to like worlds before. And the fact that they got on to the next level, I'm like, they do exactly what we do, but they're half our age. I'm like, I would rather see them.
As you were telling me as well, you went into circus school at an older age.
I was 26, turning 27.
No
which
way.
never happens. Like normally they take people who are like 19 to 22 because there's time to develop. They took me at a later age. So someone in the school thought that I had talent that they wanted to, and they gave me a chance, which I'm grateful for, 100%. And I used it, but I was like the oldest person in circus school. It was weird because everyone around me was like 20, 21, and I'm like 27, you know.
Can I get your Snapchat? And you're like, well, what the fuck is this?
I'm like, what the fuck's Snapchat?
No, that's
I'm
class.
like, what's an iPhone? You know?
Oh man, that's so nuts, man. And then coming back in full circle into, you basically lived like 3 lives already, but like when did you decide to come back and set up your online coaching and getting into the gym?
So what happened was after circus I took a little bit of a break for a little bit, and I started getting into CrossFit at that point in time. And when I started getting into CrossFit, it was really fun, and this was back in the dawn of CrossFit time, so like 2010, 11. And I started competing, and while I was competing, I started coaching more, and I met one of the people from CrossFit HQ, and they met me, and they loved my story, and they loved the fact that I knew how to teach gymnastics and everything. So this ties into the whole programming thing. So he's like, I want to get you on staff. I want you to help be part of the staff that teaches the coaches how to teach the gymnastics stuff of this as an adult, because a lot of times you're teaching kids. So I started working with him, and at that point in time, I started doing seminars around the world, where I flew to everywhere around the world, everywhere except for Japan, is where I went. And it was a weekend. It was in and out. So I flew in on Thursday, and then coached and taught this course Saturday, Sunday. Then I'm flying out Monday or Tuesday, depending if I want to stay an extra day to tour the city. And during that time, I met some of the athletes, and one of the athletes at the time were having a beer at a table, and they're like, "Well, I'm looking for a gymnastics coach. Can you coach him?" I was like, "Sure, absolutely. I'll coach you." So I started coaching them online, and it turns out that this athlete, in the next 2 years, won the CrossFit Games. So when I started coaching her, she got better. Her name is Samantha Briggs, and she was like an insanely fit CrossFitter. And
because I can imagine from the explosiveness that you need from lifting people up into the air, that you can translate that over to CrossFit as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I picked up CrossFit really well. I picked up Olympic lifting really well because of what I've done before the history of it. It made sense to me.
Yeah. So you were just teaching seminars for how long?
I taught that for 5. I taught with CrossFit since 2011, I think, until about 2016. And then I wanted to start venturing on my own, so I started teaching my own seminars.
Right.
And that's kind of when I started when I started coaching Samantha. She was like my first athlete, so my first like one-on-one client. And because she won the CrossFit Games, a lot of people were like, "Oh, well, he helped you out. I want him to help me out." So I started opening up an online business where it was like I would give programming for individuals.
What was the secret sauce?
That's for me to know.
Yeah. Like and subscribe.
No, like and subscribe. I knew what it was like for an adult to learn gymnastics and how to develop gymnastics. Because when I started gymnastics, I was an adult. Like I was like 23 years old when I did my first gymnastics class.
And you obviously think genetics played a lot into that. Like Samantha is just a.
She was not a great mover at the time.
Really?
No, I helped her move well. She had a team. Like, so when I say I helped her, I was one piece of the puzzle.
Of course, yeah.
So she had a mobility coach, she had a weightlifting coach, gymnastics coach, she had an endurance coach, and a CrossFit coach, and all of us kind of came together and made a melding pot to help her. And then I did the same thing for a second athlete who won the next year after that. So Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, she won in 2014, but I was her gymnastics coach from 2013 to 14.
Really, man, that's so class.
But yeah, like for me, it's like the secret sauce is like I know what it's like for an adult to learn gymnastics and bodyweight movements. Whereas like when you're a kid, it's easy to teach a kid gymnastics from the ground up.
The pathways are just
you're malleable as a kid.
Yeah,
as an adult,
yeah.
There's a lot of things you have to learn and develop, and adults have certain strengths and they lack certain strengths. So I'm able to understand that and
communicate it properly.
Communicate it and then know where they should start and progress from there to get better to wherever their goal is.
Okay, that's great. So, I'm 23, or sorry, 23. I'm a 32. I'm 32. Too much fucking goodness. I'm a 32-year-old man that's averagely fit. Where would you start with me if you want? Let's say you have 3 years to get me to CrossFit champion. What would you start with?
Well, we're gonna keep drinking because that's never gonna happen.
But you told me it's. Yeah. I'm gone past. I'm over the hill right now. Am I?
You wouldn't be CrossFit champion, but that being said,
in my head,
you can be fit.
Yeah.
You can be fit, and we can see your goals.
Yeah. Where would what's the ideal like for CrossFit? Like let's just say CrossFit. You obviously need strength, right? Yeah. You need endurance.
Yes.
Does flexibility come in there? Because I imagine. Yeah. So where is the happy medium, or like?
All three. You have to be a very.
Is that down to individual people as well?
For flexibility.
Yeah. Or for everything really.
For
right?
everything, it comes down to individual. Like just like anything in life, like it comes down to a lot of things. It comes down to. Your genetics. Like if you're genetically gifted, you're going to have an advantage. If you have certain levers, like if you're.
Oh, look at this body. I'm genetically freak like. Yeah.
You know, it comes down to genetics, size, adaptability. But for CrossFit, you have to be such a well-rounded athlete. You have to have it all. You have to be the total package because it's CrossFit's a GPP foundation, so that stands for General Physical Preparedness, which means you have a potential to do everything. You're not a specialist. So specialists being like weightlifters are specialists. Their whole job is to lift the heaviest amount of weight in that one movement. Runners
in the right technique.
with the right technique. Runners are specialists, and people that are done like Michael Phelps is a specialist in swimming. But if Michael Phelps didn't do swimming, he wouldn't have done anything well in his life. Like you put him in.
He's
in
genetically
gifted.
fucking built for like his frame is built for it, right?
Yeah, I think he even has like webbed hands and webbed feet.
Everything
about him, like he is designed for swimming. So in order to be CrossFit champion, you need to be that well designed where you have the genetic strength, endurance, so on and so forth.
I'm going to stop you there. Have you ever? What's the difference? And have you ever done high rocks?
I haven't done high rocks, but we are teaching high rocks at our gym. So
That's more endurance, right?
It's more endurance based. It's more accessible for athletes to go into. So CrossFit can be intimidating because there's weightlifting involved.
Okay.
But high rocks is, I like to call it like kind of CrossFit light in a sense. So we don't do any technical, and like the high rocks is a competitive race is what it is.
Yes.
And they wanted to make it accessible for everyone. So they compete with movements like simple movements like running. Almost everyone, unless you're an adaptive athlete, like if you're in a wheelchair, you have one leg, you're an adaptive athlete, you can't really run. But they're starting to have adaptive competitions or categories. That's what I'm looking for. But for the most part, high rocks is more a slightly endurance race with like basic movements in them, like things like we call wall balls, where you do a squat and you throw a wall ball. You have to take a sled, push a sled, pull a sled. You have to do kettlebell
over
lunges,
repetition, and then
high repetitions.
Isn't there like every circuit or every station is better? There's like you have to run. And a certain amount of
the standardized test is I think it's 8 kilometers total. And you start off with like a 1 kilometer run, and then you do a series of movement or like a one movement, and you have to do a certain amount of repetitions. Then you run another kilometer. So it's more built for people who like endurance and running. So the runners are dominating in that, but it's something that almost anyone can do.
Okay.
The sport, but so yeah, I haven't done it. I'm coaching it, but I haven't ever competed it in CrossFit.
Okay, that's and there's similarities except the weightlifting.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you and your wife, you run your own business.
Yeah.
An online business.
Yeah, we run our own online business. We do nutrition coaching and strength training coaching.
Okay. Back to me, average Joe bloke. If I just want to get absolutely like jacked for the summer.
Yeah.
What's the best diet to keep consistent, for your opinion?
The best diet is the one that you can be consistent at.
Ooh, that's a great answer.
So, and the reason I say it is because there's so many diets out there.
French fries and pizza. No, I'm joking.
You can diet and still have French fries and pizzas, but it's a matter of moderation.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, in a sense, like depending on what your goal is. If your goal is to lose body fat, then you have to be in what's called a calorie deficit, where your body expends a certain amount of energy per day, and you have to eat less than that energy per day, so your body starts feeding off the fat that is in your body. If you're in a calorie maintenance, you are eating the same amount of calories. Meaning, so food is energy. So
are you? Oh, there's lots. There's eating and drinking and a pint of Guinness.
Exactly. So there's calories in this. So knowing that there's calories in this, it's like that I can use. I'm going to use that as energy.
Yeah.
It's empty calories, but regardless of not knowing what goes into your body and then what you expel in the day will tell you if you're going to be in a surplus, if you're having more calories than you're expending, so you're going to start gaining weight. Okay. If you're maintaining your body weight, it means you're probably eating and drinking the same amount of energy that you expend in a day, so you're at maintenance level, so you're always like dead even, and the deficit is where you're getting leaner. So with our clients, we teach them how to do this, and depending on what their goals are, and then we also set expectations going, if someone wants to lose 20 pounds in a month, that's going to be probably very, very difficult to do, and you're going to fucking hate your life. It can be possible, but you're going to waste your muscle away, and you're going to waste your...
What I find as well is, and this is just a crude analogy, I did sober October.
Right.
And not drinking, and not like excessively. I never really excessively drink. Because of holding back that, like, oh my God, I want to, but I'm not going to, and then like, November was just no November, you know. So trying to find a happy balance, and I can imagine every customer of yours is different, really.
Everyone's different, but a lot of people have the same issue. So like I said, the best diet is the one you can stick to. So if some people love carnivore, so
Yeah.
there's carnivore, there's vegan, there's vegetarian, there's a Mediterranean diet. Like I always recommend.
What do you do yourself?
Just a well balanced diet. Like I eat everything. I'll have mostly whole foods. I'll still have processed foods. I'll still have a drink. Like
Because I seen on your social, you're in a cut right now,
I'm
right?
in a cut right now.
What do you want to get down to?
So my goal is to get down to under 190. So I'll probably want to be around 185.
What do you? Sorry, let's start off. What do you
Yeah.
normally walk around at?
I normally walk around 200.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
at one point, so I there's something that I did, and this is going to be probably by April or so. But when I started doing nutrition, I had some of my clients would always complain, well, you've always been fit all your life. You don't know my story. So what I did was, I saw a picture of this from a trainer, and what he did was he was super lean, like just shredded abs, like bodybuilder. He purposely gained 70 pounds in 6 months, and then he lost 70 pounds in 6 months. And then he goes, I did this to show my clients that I understand their struggle. And I'm like, that's a great story.
That's a very good story.
So I'm doing.
Do you know his name?
I forget his name. I can
Text me afterwards. Yeah.
I can text you that afterwards, 100%. So I decided to do the same thing. Where a few years ago I was 185 pounds, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that. So I purposely gained 50 pounds, and I got up to 232.
Can I ask as well? Is that 50 pounds muscle, or is that 50
that
pounds
was 50 pounds of fat. That
oh
was
yeah,
just
winter
like,
weight like.
Yeah, it was like I was chubby, I was chunky. Like I would sit down and I would have rolls on my side, and I just felt horrible. I'm like, I didn't like this about my body.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to do that so I can show my clients, hey, I've been. I wasn't used to it.
Oh, not that bad. I'm only joking. I'm joking. I wore a baggy t-shirt, or a jumper.
Suck it in. But I'm doing that now. I'm like, okay, now is the time. Like, I cut most of that weight off. I cut down to 200 last summer because I was doing a show, but I gained a few pounds over the winter and everything. Now I'm like, I want to get back down to where I like to be is 190 to 185.
To correlate your weight to circus.
Yeah.
Is there a happy medium there as well?
It depends on what you do.
Yeah.
So I used to do something called aerials as well. Aerials like.
Are you? And go on, finish, and then I'll ask you.
So aerials are basically if you're in an apparatus that's hanging off a suspension, you're called an aerialist. So this thing called tissues. What I did was straps. Straps are like gymnastics rings, but instead of like hanging onto the rings, they wrap around your wrist.
I've seen videos on your Instagram.
So I used to do that. So when you're lighter, your body weight to strength ratio is higher, and you're also less stress on your joints. So as I'm flipping in the air, if I'm weighing 200 pounds, that's more stress on my joints over time. If I do a lot of shows,
so you need to be leaner.
Yeah, being leaner helps you with less stress on those joints.
Oh wow!
So that does help. As a base, if I'm bigger, I can mass moves mass. So the bigger I am, the more easier it is to throw someone in the air.
But the quicker you get tired. So like it all depends on how long the show is.
Absolutely.
Is there must be this massive science behind it all.
I don't know if there's massive science behind that and circus artists, but most bases that I've seen, they're anywhere between like 180 to 210. Like that being said, I have one of my friends, his name's Ryan in the States. He's a big boy. He's same height as me, but he's 240, but he can squat like over 500 pounds, and he's just a ball of muscle.
No way.
And he can
little pit bull.
Oh, fuck! He's just good. No neck. No neck and big shoulders and
it's like Mike Tyson back in the day.
Oh yeah, and he's such a friendly guy.
He's a fridge.
But he can fucking move.
Yeah.
He used to play football in high school, and like he would tell me stories like he'd like bench press 400 for reps. I'm like, you fucking monster.
Fuck off. No way. Oh man. That's another thing that you said there as well that I can imagine has to happen, where if you're a base, you'd have to be the same height.
Yeah.
Because if you're not the same height, you're going to be throwing them off to the side, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's something I do. It's called banking, where like there's two bases. We lock wrists, and a flyer stands in our wrists, and we throw them up together. There can be you can be similar in height or like just a bit off. But if there's like a half a foot discrepancy,
you're fucked.
It's completely off.
Yeah.
Like either the one base has to like spread their feet really wide so they're lower, or the other base has to be narrower so they're higher to make the platform nice for the flyer. Wow. So most bases that are doing that, they're roughly the same height. And I've worked with some bases that were 5'6", and it sucked because everything wasn't calibrated. It was off. just even doing the throw or the tempo where we do our warm-ups, we had to be very in sync.
Okay,
Because
this is a very technical and still on the same time. What if someone, do you know how like someone during the UFC, they have his reach is longer?
yeah,
Would you, I'm sure you just kind of like over repetition.
yeah.
It's not like,
Oh, it'll affect it too.
It would, yeah, wouldn't it?
If someone's taller, if they have longer arms,
Yeah.
then when you throw at the top, that means the platform's going to be tilted.
That's-
So
yeah.
when someone lands on their feet, they're going to fall off.
No
So we have
way.
to find a way to be perfectly flat with our wrists as they land in.
oh my God.
So yeah, it's extremely technical, and it has to have like the right proportions as well. So if you find a base that's similar size as you, you're probably going to do really well. But if there's off proportions, it's not going to work well.
Fuck, man, that's, yeah, there's a lot to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Intermittent fasting, you a fan?
Me personally, no. It does have benefit for it. Like intermittent fasting is just calorie restriction.
Yeah.
So like I was saying before, like, you need a certain amount of calories in the day to live. Intermittent fasting is just a way to restrict those calories. There is some discussion and there's some science behind the fact of autophagy. So basically when your cells die, it helps feed the new ones, or helps take that away.
And you're eating off your own
Yeah, you're
body.
eating off
Yeah.
the bad cells, and you're helping create new cells.
Yeah.
It can work, but for some people, if they get hangry all the time, or and some people just can't do it. Like some people can't starve themselves, and they hate their lives. It depends on like, can you stick to that diet and do it well? Like if you get hangry all the time, then you're on a diet where you should be eating all day, and then if you want to lose weight, then you have to eat less or more.
I was listening to this podcast, and they were saying that like back in the day, for men, intermittent fasting is okay because we're built for it, and like you were saying, the Nordic. But it was like, okay, we'd go out and we're running and we're looking for back in the day, running for the next meal, to hunt and gather it, you know. But for women, because they have a menstrual cycle, the intermittent fasting is terrible.
Yeah.
Have you heard about anything like this?
Yes, I've read some literature on that. It's because there's not enough research on intermittent fasting in women. There's been studies, but not enough research where we can be fully conclusive about it.
But apparently the whole studies on women is only starting now because it was always just done on men.
There have been many studies on women, but now they're becoming
More popular.
and bigger and grander. So we can study a bit more. For the most part, it's not really recommended that women do fast. And then for that same reason, it's not great hormonally, especially during their cycles through the month, because the women go through what's called a luteal phase and a follicular phase. Follicular phase is like you have your period, and then you're in your follicular phase for that first 2 weeks, where your energy is high, progesterone, estrogen is high. Then you go to your luteal phase. Once you've ovulated, then your hormones are going to be a little bit out of sync.
We're all speaking from experience here as well.
So that's when energy is low. You feel like women feel like crap, and essentially what happens is your metabolic rate goes up as women because they're shattering their uterine wall. So they should be eating more at that point.
Yeah.
And then that's tended to be why they're always hungry. So it's okay to have that stuff, but women generally, on average, like men, we can survive on 5 to 7 hours of sleep and be fine. Women on average need at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah.
To be successful, like minimum 7 hours. Otherwise, they're not recovering properly. But I have read
How many hours of sleep do you get?
I generally get 7 to 8.
Okay.
So and I try and stay.
What cycle are you in? No,
Constantly follicular.
yeah, you get hangry. That's why you don't eat.
I do get hungry. I've tried fasting. It doesn't work for me.
Really? Yeah.
I did keto just so I can relate to I know what keto was, and I'm like, what does keto feel like? So I did keto for 3 months.
I always find that keto, it's you do it for 3 months, and then you're going to go, oh no, I'll just stop.
Yeah, I didn't like it because I had to be so restrictive in my diet. So it's like I couldn't have any carbs, or if you have you have your fiber and your carbs. So if you have net carbs under 50 grams, so if you have a bit of fiber, so it balances it out. So if you have 20 grams of fiber, 50 grams of carbs, now you only have 30 grams of carbs that you're allowed.
I take it that you like food.
I love food.
Yeah.
I love food. So I'm like, I didn't like being that restrictive. I didn't enjoy it, and sure, I lost weight, but part of the weight is when you start taking out carbs from your diet, your muscles are deflated. Your body's deflated, your energy's deflated, your brain needs glucose to survive. your muscles need glycogen, and keto is not a high glucose or glycogen body. What has happened, the body processes the protein, and then it actually converts the protein into glucose so your brain can function properly. So you're better off just having some carbs and enjoying your life, and carbs can make you happy, than starving yourself and restricting yourself. And if you go out, you can't have a beer, you can't do anything. So I'm like, I'd rather do a meal or a diet plan that I can stick with and be consistent. Like I'm still cutting and I can still drink. And even last month I had a night with my buddy. I only had 2 or 3 drinks because I counted the calories. I'm like, I know how many calories I'm going to drink, and I can still lose weight because that's my goal. It just means I'm having a very small meal.
So a stereotypical day for you, as in food-wise, what would you wake up in the morning and what?
Right now, I'm eating 5 meals a day. So
really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm having like five smaller meals a day, and that's because I'm up in the morning. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm coaching at times. And if I was up, like, let's say 8 o'clock, and I'm going to bed by 8 o'clock, that's a shortened window. Yeah. So I can probably have bigger meals, but fewer meals.
3 meals maybe.
Yeah, 3 meals would be perfect. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and be done. But because I'm up at 5, and sometimes I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock at night, I want to spread those meals out, so I'll eat every 3 hours just so I have some food in my system.
So what's breakfast?
Breakfast is overnight oats. Oats, and I have protein powders in there. I have yogurt in there.
Do you make them yourself, or?
Oh yeah.
I've seen them in Costco. You can buy overnight.
You can buy them,
yeah.
I make them because it's super easy.
Yeah.
For me to do it, and then I can control my calories that go in.
Are you putting protein into them?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it thickens it up a little bit. You can even put like flax seeds in them. It's easy, and I love things that are ready to go because I'm lazy.
Yes.
So I like to make all my meals. So instead of like taking half an hour to cook a huge meal.
So you meal prep every Sunday?
I meal prep all the time, yeah.
After church? Yeah.
Yeah, always after church.
And then so breakfast is overnight oats.
Yep.
Then you move on to a snack then?
No, I have second breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Which is cottage cheese and berries.
Brunch, yeah.
Well, there's first breakfast, second breakfast,
cottage cheese and breakfast, and cottage cheese and breakfast. Cottage cheese and what now?
And berries.
Oh, okay, all right.
So like mixed fruit. So I buy a bag from Costco. Costco is like the savior.
What brand cottage cheese?
Just low fat cottage cheese. And then,
have you ever had Irish cheese? Just on the subject of cheese.
I don't know.
Oh man, you need to get.
If I did, I didn't know about it.
Oh, you need to. I don't know how good it is for you. Yeah, it's fucking so good. Kerrygold cheese. I like Kilmeaden, Kerrygold, any Irish name cheese.
Okay.
It's probably like fucking so. Canadian cheese is shite.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Offended, yeah.
I heard, and cheese, the normal shitty cheese that you buy in Canada, it's not cheese, it's wood pulp. Have you ever heard that?
No, I haven't heard of this.
Is that? Fact check that, please. Yeah.
No, I said certain.
It's earwax. No.
There's a small percentage of wood pulp put into cheese.
Okay.
Like it might be 2 or 3%. That's all.
Oh right. Still though, kind of fucking weird, no?
Well, do you know about peanut butter?
What about peanut butter?
Do you like peanut butter?
I love it. The crunchy one.
Do you want me to tell you the story then? It might ruin your deception.
No, go for it.
So like there's certain, like whenever they make foods like that, there's a certain level of tolerance that they allow things to happen. So like obviously with the wood pulp, I understand that. For peanut butter, it's insects because when they in their factories,
yeah, man.
There's a certain level of insects that they're allowed to.
Have you been to Mexico?
Yeah, I have.
Their crickets are salty and lovely, like.
Exactly.
And they're actually really nice, and high protein too.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't realize that when they're having peanut butter, they're actually eating a shit ton of bugs.
Nice.
It's
90%.
I don't know the percentage, but because of the nature of the processing, like there are it's like fruit flies or some shit like that.
Man, the amount of fucking flies running around here, we definitely consumed
exactly.
one of them.
There was one that fell in the gas.
I had two fucking running around my rim there, like. Right, so that's a cottage cheese and berries.
Yeah. So frozen fruit essentially. Yeah.
Okay, and then on to the next.
And then on for
lunch.
Usually for lunch is like so I coach the morning, so I'll get home and then I'll have scrambled eggs and potatoes.
All right.
And then for the evenings I'll have probably chicken, potatoes, and some veggies, and then the last meal I have in the night.
Do you have any sauces? I'm a saucy guy now.
I do when I have a salad, like my last meal of the night is chicken with salad.
Yeah.
And then I'll have I'll make a Greek feta salad. So I'll have like some balsamic vinaigrette or like a Greek feta kind of salad. But for sauces, I don't use.
Do you try and stay away from all the oils and the rapeseed oils and stuff like that?
No, not at all. I don't stay away from oils. Like I usually use olive oil a lot. I just know which oils have higher calories, so I limit them a little bit. But
Okay.
when it comes to seed oils are not bad for you.
Okay.
At all. They actually, this is what I deal with all the time. Misinformation as a nutritionist. There's a lot of people think, oh, seed oils are bad, or this is bad, or oats are bad. I'm like, they're not bad. If you look at the studies, like
If you have a name like rape, though, you kind of fucking red flags, right?
Yeah, exactly. But when it comes to that stuff, it's just like, if you read the studies, you have to understand what the studies have done, how they tested it, why they did it, and then does it actually do that? And a lot of times in media, it gets out of hand, where someone takes the summary of going, is this bad for you? And then someone believes that's bad for you instead of reading the full-on study itself and then looking at what they did with the study. But when it comes to seed oils and things like that, they're not bad for you. In fact, they actually improve inflammation and help improve body composition if eaten correctly. But like anything, you can die from drinking too much water.
Yeah, of course, you can.
It's called hypernatremia. Anything
And you actually like taz out and freak out about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's like anything in excess you can die from. Like just like artificial sweeteners. Like a lot of people think artificial sweeteners are bad because some study came out saying artificial sweeteners are bad for you, but the study that was done that found out that artificial sweeteners are deadly was when they loaded up these rats with about 14 times their body weight of artificial sweeteners or sugar.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you load up anyone with 14 times their body weight, so if you, or whatever you're weighing, like, 70, 75 kilos.
How'd you know?
like yes, but times your body weight by 14 pounds and then have all that in a day for artificial sweeteners or sugar, yeah, you're going to fucking die.
Yeah.
But if you have a little bit, you're absolutely fine. And
Right.
it's not going to harm your system by any means. And a lot of people don't understand that. They just hear the subwords, oh, this is bad for you, but it's not. Just like the whole, is butter good? Butter's good. Cheese is probably the best thing you can have.
Back to rep in Ireland.
Yeah.
Kerrygold butter, get it.
Kerrygold butter.
Yeah, Kerrygold butter blew up back when people were putting butter in their coffee. Have you heard of Kerrygold butter? Oh man, you need to try that shit too.
I'm going to now.
Yeah.
I used to make bulletproof coffees when I was.
Is that what they're called? Yeah.
Well, yeah, when they put butter in the coffee and they put the MCT oil in.
Yeah,
Coconut oil, essentially, but
literally stocks in Kerrygold went through the roof.
Amazing,
And my cousin's friend was a sales rep, and he got to travel all around America because of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Honestly, and it's gorgeous. Like fucking, probably the bee's knees of butter now. To be honest.
Yeah, go with that.
Yeah, 100%. You on your online platform, you're selling nutritional, and then coaching. But then there's rings, and then there's also handstands.
So I sell a few programs for individuals that like want special work, and my goal is like this year I'm building up the business more. So we sell.
What's the name of the business first of all?
Harmonic Potential.
Yes.
So the reason my wife and I picked that Harmonic Potential, from when you hear the word, you're like, what does that mean? We promote a balance in life.
Okay.
So I'm pretty much done with coaching high-level competitive athletes because there's only one high-level competitive athlete out of every 100,000 people that are going. So we chose the name Harmonic Potential because we believe that there should be balance in your life and your lifestyle. So you can go to the gym and enjoy yourself, and like you don't need to be lifting the heaviest weight, but at the same time with your nutrition, have some food, enjoy a beer while you're out, but that doesn't mean you have to be so rigid in your lifestyle that you shouldn't be drinking. Because there are people that are so restrictive in their whole life that like, oh, I have to sleep 12 hours a night. I have to work out 3 hours a day. I have to do this, and this. And they pass up the opportunities to just go and socialize.
And live their life.
And live their life.
Yeah.
So we chose the word harmonic potential because we want to produce your ability as potential as a human being. Like, yeah, you want to get stronger. We want to help you find what your potential is, but we also want you to have balance in your life. So you can go and have a drink. You can go and party, but at the same time still live a healthy lifestyle and have some fun along the way. So that's what we do, and then we sell coaching for nutrition. We sell personalized training, and like I sell a couple programs for people who want to get better at handstands, people who want to get better on rings and muscle ups, and those skills. And I'm going to start putting up more programs because that's what I used to do before. Now I'm getting back into it.
For someone that's thinking about like, oh, I'd love to be able to do it. Like, I'd love to be able to do a handstand.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, anytime it comes down to shoulder day, or like me, as my day job is mechanic, so I'd always have a rotator cuff issue, or there's something like. Literally 2 weeks ago, I fell snowboarding, and I'm like, yeah, I'm all right, I'm grand.
Yeah.
I like to complain, but like, do you know, is there any steps, or is there any like things that I need to take into consideration before I start your program?
As long as you're not having an injury, you should be good to start the program.
Yeah,
And for people
you're
who
taking on everyone, any levels.
take it on. Well, I sell the program, so it's kind of up to them. If you have an injured shoulder where you can't move it,
Oh, no,
you
yeah,
should be
yeah,
buying
yeah.
the program. But it, like anything, when you start strength training your shoulder, it's going to start feeling a little bit better over time.
Yeah.
Because in your case, you're probably engineer, so you're using it all the time, and you're probably doing the same movement constantly, so you might have an overuse injury. And the programs I like to develop is a well-rounded program where you're doing push and pull in a sense.
Right.
So if you're constantly doing this,
And your posture is going to get better,
Your posture
everything.
should get better because I want to rebalance all the muscles in your body.
Right.
Just like, for example, the Olympic rowing team. They get on the water and all they're doing is rowing, which is all back and legs, because rowing is about 80% legs. They push their legs, they row.
Yeah.
The first 2 sessions that they're in the gym when they go is they do bench press because they want to counteract all the pulling that they do.
So, yeah, all that stress.
Yeah, because they're always pulling, and then they're going to get their shoulders pulled back in a bad way, so they have to bench press to rebalance out their body.
Fantastic.
So when you start training properly in a proper program, even though you're let's say you're a mechanic and you're always pushing forward, if you're training at least something that's reversing that action and then pulling your shoulder back in place and stabilizing it in its socket, you're going to have a healthier shoulder over time.
Okay. If you're on a desert island and you had to live there for the rest of your life, what was 5 workouts that you would take with you?
It wouldn't be workouts, but there'd be pieces of equipment that I would take.
That you can
Because
work
when
out
you have those pieces of equipment, you can do whatever workout that you want.
Of course, yeah.
But I would always have a barbell. I'd always have a heavy set of dumbbells. I'd have a pull-up bar. I would have a sandbag. And then I'd probably want some type of, so let's see.
What did you go through that? You ran
So
through that fairly
I
quickly.
had a barbell with weights.
Barbell with weights.
Pull-up bar for sure. Then heavy sandbag.
You have a tree there, so you can do that.
Yeah, if I have a tree there.
Yeah. So it's a tropical island. It's not Vancouver Island, are you?
Fair enough.
I'm sure there's trees there too.
Let's see. Yeah, so pull-up bar.
Sandbag.
Sandbag for
You're on a
sure.
tropical island. There's loads of sand there. You're grand.
I would have at least 1 pair of heavy dumbbells. And
How
then
heavy?
For me, I love 120s or 150s.
Okay.
So like
Shit, Jesus Christ, that triggered my memory. Go on anyway.
I love a good set of heavy dumbbells, and then I would probably, just for fun, I would probably have a log there, and a log is a strongman device.
Okay.
So it originally it's built out of a tree where they have handles in it, and they do something called a log press where you put weights on the side, you pick it up and press it overhead.
Yeah.
I've always loved strongman things, and like a log press and things like that are just fun to do.
Perfect segue.
Yeah.
How'd you get the shirt off the mountain's back? And the mountain, when I said the mountain, I mean the Game of Thrones mountain.
The Game of Thrones man, yeah. Hafthor Bjornsson, I think his last name is.
I couldn't pronounce it, that's why I just went straight for the mountain.
Yeah. Well, his name's Hafthor. So I was in
Hafthor.
Hafthor. H-A-P, Thor.
Yeah.
So he's Icelandic, and then he is a mountain. I have a picture of me flexing next to him, and I look like a small child in comparison. And most people say I'm a big guy, but I'm like I'm a miniature person next to this guy. So we were in Iceland, and we were doing a training camp. So my friend
Was that for CrossFit?
It wasn't for CrossFit. It was with a different company.
Yeah.
And what they do is they do something called they've coined it the superhero camp, and they sell a training package where they will take a week away in an exotic location. So they could go to Bali, they could go to Mexico. In this case, they went to Iceland, and in that training camp, what you do is they offer a couple different disciplines or sports that they teach. So in this case, they hired me as a gymnastics coach. They teach kettlebells. They hired a track and field guy, and then they hired Magnus for Magnusson, who used to be one of the world's most famous.
I've heard that name, yeah.
He was like one of the I think 6, 7-time world strongman back in the 90s. I used to watch him as a kid, so they hired him to teach the strongman version. So in this week-long training camp, what they do is they do like 2 hours of kettlebells, and then they do like an hour and a half gymnastics, and they do like an hour and a half of track and field, and they do like an hour and a half of strongman.
It's kind of like High Rocks, but on a extreme level.
Yeah, and this is where they're teaching like the techniques and stuff, and you get exposure to this sport. And so you pay for the event, and it's Monday to Friday, and it's like that's why they call it superhero camp for fun. And in this case, with Strongman Half Thor, and then we trained with Magnus for Magnuson, and he would show us how to properly do a stone lift, or how to do a log lift, or how to like do farmer's carries. And Magnus for Magnuson was coaching Half Thor at the time in Strongman's World Championships.
What year was this?
This was 2015.
So it's just around. This is before Game of Thrones.
I think this is after the Game of Thrones.
Is it? Yeah.
Because he had the shirts for training to fight the mountain.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, this is 2015. So I think this is just when he like introduced on Game of Thrones, and like or just after, or I don't know the Game of Thrones timeline. And he came to the last day. So like Magnus was like, hey, I'm gonna bring Half Thor in, and everyone knew who he was. I had no idea who the mountain was because I didn't watch Game of Thrones then. I'm just watching it now. So I just saw it now, and I just saw it when he crushed the guy's head. I was like, I heard about this.
Oh, no way, that's sick.
I'm like, I know that guy. So they had a circus dumbbell, and in the circus dumbbell, they only have 2 sizes. They have one that's 100 kilos, so that's 220 in American freedom units.
Yeah.
And they had one that was, I think, 80 kilos. And they were showing us how to do it with like smaller, little tiny 10, 15 pound dumbbells. And they were teaching us, and Half Thor was like, well, you look like a big guy. Like, he's like, tell you what, I'm going to challenge you. If you lift that and press it over your head, I'll give you one of my shirts. And one of his shirts was...
I've seen the video. This fucking dumbbell's huge.
It's massive. It's 80 kilos. It's 175 pounds.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's like the heads of it are like this.
They're bigger than our heads together, basically. Yeah.
It's bigger than my head. It's completely...
Go check that out on his Instagram. It's on your Instagram or your YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And... I looked at him like, well, I'm like, how about we do this? How about if I lift this? Because he wouldn't let me even pick it up. He's like, it was like one shot and that's it. That's all.
Kind of like Thor's hammer, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He did this, and so I said, well, how about this? If I pick it up and I press it overhead, you have to give me the shirt on your back and you have to sign it. And he sat there for a second. He's like, okay. And then at first he was like, I don't think you can do it, so I'm fine. And then as I'm getting ready, and apparently he was in the background going, fuck, I'm actually amped up for him. Like, I want him to do it. And so I lifted it.
Is he a nice guy? He seems like a legend.
He was an amazing, from the interaction that I had with him, he was super nice, super friendly.
Yeah.
And like, as I sent you the video, so I lifted it. I was like, holy fuck, I'm buzzing, adrenaline's going high, and I throw it down, and he walks over me, takes his shirt off, and here you go. I still have this shirt. I'm never getting rid of this shirt.
No, you framed that shit.
You framed that shirt, and like, it's just, it was amazing. He's like, here's my shirt. Signs it for me. Then I had Magnus for Magnuson, who's a legend in his own right, sign it for me. I was like, oh my god, this is like one of my heroes, and like
that's so
like the
cool,
world's strongest man, like signing that shit.
That's so cool.
So I challenged him to that. And it was like one of the highlights of my life.
As an Irish kind of comedy sketch, there's a saying. It's like it's a YouTube reel or something like that, where it's like this pint man. His name, it's basically Pints Man.
Pints Man, okay.
And it's a picture of this old farmer basically down in the pub. But it goes on for a while, but there is a little tagline. It's like, I'll take the shirt off any man's back. Like, I'll fight him. Do you know what I mean? Like, anytime, once I seen the video, I was like, man, he actually took the shirt off his back. Like, you know what I mean? That's it.
It's probably still had his sweat on it, too.
Yeah. you could just sweat.
Yeah, just secret sauce right there.
That'll get you to the fucking... the end of the champion of CrossFit.
Yeah, that'll be the CrossFit Games right there.
Unreal. Sean, man, it's been amazing talking to you. You're a phenomenal character.
Well,
and really, really cool story. Where is your handle, Instagram? Do you want you're on TikTok or any of them? Where if anyone's watching this and they want to reach out and get in contact with you, and
I'm on TikTok, but I'm not really on TikTok.
Yeah.
But my Instagram handle is Sean Carl Lind.
Yeah.
And then yeah, they can find me through there. And then our business name is Harmonic Potential, which is also on Instagram.
100%.
We're more on our main pages.
Cool.
And then we just promote our secondary page.
And then what were are you going to go back into a circus and that in the near future, or you don't know?
For now, I'm just going to do corporate events. So
Yeah.
I'm not really going to do any tours. So
Right,
I'll just
okay.
do shows locally.
So keep your eyes peeled. You
Yeah, or
might see this
hire
face.
me. Like you're like, hey, you want some circus performers to
Exactly.
come to your
Yeah,
show?
yeah.
We've done parties before. We did one of my favorite parties to do was a couple years ago. It was a gender reveal party, and
No
it
way.
was the first grandchild of the family, and like it was a very big like Filipino Asian family, and they spent like. I'll put it this way. I know how much it costs for an artist to be hired.
Yeah.
They had 8 of us. Plus they had a live music band. Then they rented out the top of a hotel. Then they had full catering. So easily they spent 40 to 50 grand just on the gender reveal
Oh my
party.
God.
But it was so exciting, but it was also hearing that it was like the first grandchild out of the entire family, of like out of all the kids, all the sons and daughters, this was the first one, or the one that where they got pregnant. So it was a blast, and they even had characters that walk around like.
Turns out he's
toys.
gender fluid.
Yeah. That'd be funny. I wasn't there for that part, but like the room and everything was just.
That's mad, man. Wow.
It was super fun, but we do things like that. We do like tons of little events. So like I've worked for when the Olympics were here in 2010. I did the Olympics and performed for Coca-Cola. But for now, we're local. We're just doing anyone that hires us for big events, or things like Canada Day too. Like we might even do stuff like that.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much, man.
Thank
Cheers.
you for having me.
Please like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.